Various human skeletons and skeleton parts were found in Pömmelte. Some bodies had been exposed to heavy violence at the time of their death. Other bodies seem entirely undamaged and were buried with honor.
We discovered various kinds of human remains at the site. On one hand, there are normal tombs. It's interesting to notice that these tombs were exclusively situated in the eastern half of the circle, where only young men were buried.
These young men were buried in a crouched position facing east. The scientists assume that those honorable burials were reserved for warriors or young priests. But other kinds of burials were also discovered at the Woodhenge.
We found single parts of human bodies, like a leg bone or a foot bone. But the most interesting fact is that we also found human skulls, which were redeposited there in the second level. That's to say, they had been somewhere else before. They must have been a kind of trophy, or the skull of an ancestor, which had been preserved, but we don't know that for sure. But we do know that the skulls must originally have been somewhere else, and were then, later on, offered in a ritual.
The scientists discovered the most impressive finds in the sacrificial pits alongside the circular trench: 7 women and children. They belonged to the same clan, and they were probably human offerings.
Here we have 2 skulls found in the pits. In total, 7 skulls were found. We can assume that they were not buried, but thrown into the hole as offerings. We can clearly see that the bones have marks and indentations, traumas that show they were hit with this kind of stone axe. You can see that clearly on this skull of a child, about 4 to 7 years old, and on this skull of a woman, 30 to 40 years old. Further skeleton parts were found, such as a rib cage with broken ribs, which means that the person was hit several times and died from these injuries.
It will always remain a mystery where exactly and in which ceremonies these people died. But the Woodhenge's dead bodies show how close life and death, cult and everyday life were entwined.